Have you ever wondered what it felt like to walk the Earth 400,000 years ago? Imagine a world untouched by skyscrapers, asphalt roads, or glowing screens. A planet where survival depended entirely on instinct, courage, and the connections forged between humans. As we step into this distant past, the landscape stretches wide and untamed. Towering trees sway in prehistoric winds, rivers carve deep channels through ancient valleys, and the distant roars of giant mammals echo across the plains. Here, every day is a delicate balance between life and death, where the bonds of a small human group can mean the difference between thriving and perishing. In these early communities, life was a constant negotiation with nature. Humans, still discovering their full potential, learned to read the subtle cues of the environment. A rustle in the bushes could signal a predator or a prey, while clouds rolling across the sky foretold storms that might disrupt fragile shelters. But it wasn't only nature that shaped their world. It was the people around them. These early humans understood, perhaps instinctively, that survival was a collective endeavor. Alone, each individual was vulnerable, but together they could hunt larger animals, protect one another from dangers, and pass knowledge from one day to the next. The sense of community extended beyond mere practicality. Shared experiences, like a firelit meal after a successful hunt or the quiet watch over a sleeping infant, fostered trust and cooperation. These moments, though simple, created invisible threads connecting members of the group, threads that would ultimately become the foundation of human civilization. And while we often marvel at the tools or the fire these early humans mastered, it was the unseen power of social bonds that truly defined their success. As we peer into their world, it's astonishing how similar some of our instincts remain. We still gather around warmth, we still seek companionship in times of uncertainty, and we still share stories that bind us together. The echoes of those first human connections resonate across hundreds of thousands of years, reminding us that the art of survival is never just physical, it's profoundly social. If this glimpse into the past sparks your curiosity, leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think these early bonds shaped who we are today? Step into a world long before cities, roads, or borders, a world where the Earth itself was the greatest storyteller. 400,000 years ago, the climate was a dynamic, sometimes brutal force, shaping landscapes and the creatures that inhabited them. Vast grasslands stretched to the horizon, interrupted by dense forests, winding rivers, and jagged cliffs. Seasons were unpredictable. Harsh winters could freeze rivers solid, while scorching summers left the land parched. Yet, life endured, adapted, and thrived in ways that continue to fascinate us today. This was the age of megafauna, creatures so immense they dominate our imagination even now. Herds of giant deer moved silently across the plains, their antlers forming living arches against the skyline. Woolly rhinos, armored and imposing, grazed with deliberate patience, while saber-toothed cats prowled the shadows, their keen eyes scanning for any sign of weakness. Rivers teemed with fish, and the skies were alive with flocks of birds, whose calls echoed across the valleys. Each animal played a role in the delicate web of life, shaping the survival strategies of early humans who depended on their knowledge of the landscape and its inhabitants. Humans observed, learned, and adapted. They watched the migration patterns of prey, the hunting behaviors of predators, and even subtle changes in plant life that hinted at seasonal shifts. Survival demanded more than brute strength. It required understanding and intuition. In this intricate ecosystem, humans were small but not insignificant. They were part of a system that demanded respect, cooperation, and ingenuity. Even the climate itself was both an ally and an adversary. Ice ages and warmer interglacial periods forced human groups to migrate, to experiment with tools, and to strengthen social bonds that could endure the harshest conditions. In such a world, the interplay between humans and their environment was a delicate dance, each step vital to continued existence. As we explore these landscapes, it becomes clear that the challenges faced by our ancestors were monumental, yet they adapted with intelligence, foresight, and community. Their world was unforgiving, yet rich in lessons about resilience and the intertwined fate of humans and nature. Imagine a small group huddled beneath the shadows of towering cliffs, their lives entwined not by choice, but by necessity. 400,000 years ago, humans did not wander as solitary hunters. They moved, ate, and slept in tight-knit groups, each member a crucial thread in the fabric of survival. These groups were often small, perhaps a dozen individuals, yet every role mattered. From the skilled hunter who tracked herds across the plains, to the caretaker who ensured infants and elders were safe, to those who maintained the shelter and fire that defined daily life. Within these primitive communities, structure emerged organically. Hierarchies were subtle, often dictated by experience, skill, or age, rather than authority. Knowledge was a currency, passed silently through observation and practice. Children learned not from written texts, but from watching elders fashion tools, track animals, or signal danger. Every interaction reinforced trust, as mistakes could cost not only an individual's life, but the well-being of the entire group. The routines of these early humans were shaped by necessity and nature's rhythms. Hunting parties set out at dawn, moving carefully across grasslands, rivers, and forests, relying on keen senses and a shared understanding of the terrain. Gathering tasks were equally vital. Edible plants, roots, and fruits supplemented their diet, providing nutrition during lean hunting seasons. Even leisure had purpose. Collective storytelling, playful interaction, and ritualized movements fostered social cohesion, subtly teaching cooperation and empathy. Remarkably, these early groups also understood the importance of memory and place. Seasonal campsites, migration paths, and water sources were known intimately. Knowledge of where to find food, which areas were dangerous, and when to move was a shared heritage that strengthened bonds and ensured survival across generations. In essence, the organization of these early groups was an early experiment in human society itself, a delicate balance of roles, trust, and cooperation. Every day was a test, every decision a negotiation with nature and with each other. By examining their habits, we gain insight not only into survival, but into the very origins of human connection and the social instincts that continue to guide us today. Imagine the world of early humans 400,000 years ago, vast landscapes, hidden dangers, and constant challenges. Amid this uncertainty, one skill became as vital as hunting or gathering: communication. Before fully developed language existed, humans relied on a mosaic of gestures, sounds, and expressions to convey meaning, warn of danger, and coordinate efforts. Each flick of a hand, each low grunt, was a thread weaving the social fabric that kept them alive. The power of communication extended far beyond mere survival. A well-timed warning could save lives from predators or natural disasters, while shared signals allowed groups to plan complex hunts that no single individual could execute alone. This early language, fluid, adaptive, and profoundly intuitive, allowed humans to collaborate in unprecedented ways. Even subtle cues, like the tilt of a head or a glance, conveyed crucial information, building trust and reinforcing bonds that would become the backbone of their society. Interestingly, this emerging language was not just functional, it shaped thought itself. As humans developed ways to express concepts and experiences, they began to share knowledge across generations. The memory of a dangerous river crossing, the best techniques for crafting tools, or the safest migration routes could be passed along, embedding collective wisdom into the life of the group. In this sense, communication was both a shield against immediate threats and a bridge to the future. These early humans were also masters of rhythm and repetition. Simple chants, patterned claps, or even shared breathing during hunts could synchronize actions, heighten attention, and strengthen the sense of unity. Every sound became part of a carefully balanced ecosystem of cooperation, reinforcing the idea that survival was inseparable from social cohesion. As we reflect on this period, it becomes clear that the seeds of human language were not merely a convenience. They were an instrument of life itself. The ability to communicate transformed small bands of humans into resilient communities, capable of overcoming the perils of a harsh world. Think about it. Without this innovation, our ancestors' survival story might have ended long before it began. What do you think was the most critical form of early communication? Gestures, sounds, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Beyond the daily struggle for food and safety, early humans 400,000 years ago sought meaning in ways that transcended survival. Rituals and social behaviors, though primitive by modern standards, shaped the rhythm of life, strengthening bonds and fostering a shared identity within the group. Around the flickering light of a fire, humans might have engaged in synchronized movements, vocalizations, or repeated gestures that created a sense of unity, turning simple gatherings into profound social experiences. Rituals were more than tradition. They were tools for cohesion. Shared practices, whether celebrating a successful hunt, honoring the cycles of nature, or marking rites of passage, provided a framework for understanding the world and each other. In these moments, individuals were reminded that their survival depended not only on their own abilities, but on the trust, cooperation, and loyalty of the entire group. Such behaviors created invisible ties, reinforcing social hierarchies and roles, and embedding lessons about cooperation and empathy into daily life. Even in the harshest environments, these early humans found ways to express themselves collectively. Artifacts such as carved bones, painted surfaces, or arranged stones hint at symbolic thought, suggesting that humans were beginning to conceptualize their experiences beyond immediate needs. These symbolic behaviors may have served as early forms of storytelling, memory, and teaching, passing knowledge through shared understanding rather than individual trial and error. The influence of these social behaviors extended to group decision-making. Collective problem-solving, whether organizing a hunt, deciding when to migrate, or caring for the vulnerable, relied on subtle cues, shared traditions, and practiced routines. Over time, these rituals created predictability, trust, and a sense of safety in an otherwise unpredictable world. By observing these behaviors, it becomes evident that survival was intertwined with culture. The earliest humans recognized that community was as crucial as instinct, that emotion and cooperation were survival strategies in their own right, and that life was enriched when experiences were shared. These moments, ephemeral yet transformative, laid the groundwork for the social structures that would define human societies for hundreds of millennia. Picture a cold night 400,000 years ago. Darkness stretches endlessly, the wind bites sharply, and distant roars hint at predators lurking nearby. In this precarious world, one discovery transformed human life forever: fire. The ability to control fire was not merely a convenience, it was a revolutionary force that reshaped survival, social behavior, and the very fabric of early human communities. Fire brought warmth and protection. It warded off dangerous animals and allowed humans to occupy regions previously deemed inhospitable. But its power extended beyond the physical. It became a center for cooperation and social interaction. Groups gathered around glowing embers, sharing tasks, teaching skills, and reinforcing bonds through collective attention and care. Cooking over fire not only improved nutrition by making food more digestible, but also encouraged shared meals, creating moments of intimacy and trust that strengthened the cohesion of the group. Cooperation around fire demanded organization and communication. Someone had to maintain the flames, gather fuel, and ensure safety, while others prepared food or looked after children and the elderly. Each role reinforced interdependence. Every individual's contribution mattered. The fire became both a symbol and a tool of unity, demonstrating that collaboration amplified survival far more effectively than solitary effort. Interestingly, fire also shaped cognition and culture. The extended hours of light allowed for planning, storytelling, and teaching, giving humans time to refine skills and pass knowledge to the next generation. These shared experiences laid the foundation for memory, creativity, and even early forms of culture, linking survival strategies with emotional and intellectual growth. By observing these early humans, we see that the mastery of fire was not just a technical breakthrough, it was a social revolution. It illuminated the importance of collaboration, trust, and shared responsibility, proving that human ingenuity thrives when individuals act not alone, but as part of a connected, caring group. In a world where danger could appear at any moment, early humans had to rely on more than sharp instincts. They depended on one another. 400,000 years ago, threats came in many forms. Predators lurking in the night, rival groups competing for resources, or sudden natural disasters that tested every group's resilience. Survival demanded a system of defense and protection that extended beyond individual courage into the realm of collective strategy. Groups developed techniques that were subtle yet effective. Hunters coordinated ambushes, using knowledge of animal behavior to maximize success while minimizing risk. Sentinels would watch over the sleeping or vulnerable, their presence a quiet reassurance that danger could be detected before it became fatal. Early humans also employed noise, fire, and strategic positioning to deter predators, transforming fear into a shared resource that reinforced unity. Every member had a role, whether young or old, experienced or learning, because the strength of the group outweighed individual skill. Communication was critical. Even without complex language, humans could convey warning signals with shouts, gestures, or drum-like sounds. These signals were rehearsed and understood by all, creating an invisible network of alert and response. In moments of attack, cooperation turned chaos into coordinated action, allowing groups to survive encounters that would have been deadly for isolated individuals. Protection extended to more than physical survival. Social support, empathy, and attention to each member's well-being were equally vital. Caring for injured or sick individuals, sharing food during scarcity, and maintaining emotional bonds all contributed to a resilient society capable of withstanding the harshest conditions. This combination of tactical knowledge and social cohesion illustrates the depth of early human intelligence. The legacy of these strategies is clear. Humans learned that safety is a communal achievement, and that the bonds forged through shared vigilance, trust, and responsibility could determine life or death. Think about it. Without these early lessons in collective defense, our ancestors might never have survived long enough to shape the story of humanity. What do you find most fascinating about these early defense strategies? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Imagine the subtle power that binds humans together. Not steel, not stone, but empathy. 400,000 years ago, early humans relied on more than hunting, skills, or physical strength. They depended on the ability to sense the emotions, needs, and intentions of others within their group. Empathy was not merely an emotional luxury, it was a survival tool that allowed humans to cooperate, share knowledge, and maintain cohesion in an unforgiving world. Through empathy, individuals could anticipate dangers, provide comfort, and offer assistance before problems escalated. A mother soothing her infant, a companion tending to an injury, or a hunter sharing the fruits of a successful hunt. These acts were small, yet crucial threads weaving a resilient social fabric. By recognizing and responding to the emotions of others, early humans strengthened trust and loyalty, creating a community that could face threats far larger than any one individual. Culture, in its earliest forms, emerged hand in hand with empathy. Shared stories, symbols, and rituals reinforced a collective identity, offering guidance and preserving wisdom for future generations. The act of teaching a younger member to craft tools, navigate the land, or remember safe shelters was more than instruction. It was a transfer of experience and a reinforcement of communal values. Every shared gesture, repeated ritual, or observed habit contributed to a growing repository of knowledge that shaped behavior, ethics, and survival strategies. Even leisure and play were culturally significant. Collective games, mock hunts, or synchronized dances around the fire taught cooperation, coordination, and anticipation of others' actions. These seemingly simple interactions honed cognitive and social skills essential for thriving in a complex ecosystem. In essence, empathy and shared culture created invisible yet powerful networks binding early humans. They were the glue that held fragile communities together, transforming isolated survival into collective resilience. By nurturing emotional intelligence alongside physical skill, early humans set the foundation for the social sophistication that defines our species today. 400,000 years ago, survival depended not only on strength and instinct, but on the ingenuity to transform the environment into opportunity. Early humans developed tools and technologies that were modest by modern standards, yet revolutionary in their context. Sharp stones became cutting instruments, sticks were adapted for digging or fishing, and later, composite tools combined multiple elements, demonstrating an early understanding of cause and effect. Each innovation was a product of observation, experimentation, and trial, yet it was also a social achievement. Knowledge passed from one individual to another, building a shared repository of expertise that strengthened the group as a whole. Learning was rarely formal. Instead, it occurred through observation, imitation, and participation. Young members of the group watched elders shape stone, craft spears, or construct shelters, gradually absorbing not only the technical skills, but the reasoning behind each action. Mistakes were corrected collaboratively, insights were celebrated, and successful strategies became standardized over time. In this way, technology was inseparable from social interaction. The making of a tool was as much about collaboration and teaching as it was about function. These early innovations extended beyond tools. Fire management, clothing from animal hides, and strategic hunting techniques illustrate a continuous process of problem-solving intertwined with collective learning. Humans began to anticipate outcomes, plan for seasons, and adapt strategies based on environmental feedback, a cognitive leap that set them apart from other species. Each technological advance was a story of shared knowledge, empathy, and foresight, reinforcing bonds that were essential for survival. By examining these early achievements, we understand that innovation was not merely individual brilliance, it was a communal enterprise. The capacity to learn, share, and improve collectively transformed humans from vulnerable survivors into adaptive, inventive, and resilient beings. Through this lens, Every tool, every technique, and every lesson becomes a testament to the power of social learning, hinting at the foundations of the complex societies that would emerge tens of thousands of years later. As we step back from the distant echoes of 400,000 years ago, one truth becomes unmistakable. Humans have always thrived through connection. The bonds forged around fire through shared labor and across collective rituals were not incidental. They were the lifeblood of survival. Every strategy, every innovation, and every gesture of empathy contributed to a web of relationships that allowed early humans not just to endure, but to flourish in a perilous world. These early communities reveal that socialization was more than instinct. It was a sophisticated adaptation. Cooperation in hunting, protection, and caregiving created efficiencies and safeguards unattainable by solitary effort. The transmission of knowledge, tools, hunting strategies, and survival practices depended on shared understanding and trust, laying the groundwork for cumulative culture. In essence, the act of living together became a mechanism of resilience, where the whole was greater than the sum of its parts. The lessons of this distant past are mirrored in our modern lives. Even today, humans rely on collaboration, empathy, and shared purpose to navigate challenges, build societies, and foster innovation. The threads connecting early humans continue to shape our behavior, our relationships, and our collective identity. Social bonds remain a cornerstone of adaptation, echoing the strategies that once kept our ancestors alive against immense odds. Reflecting on these origins, it is striking to consider that our survival has always been intertwined with others. Life, from the very beginning, was never meant to be solitary. Understanding this legacy offers not only a window into the past, but a lens through which we can appreciate the enduring power of connection in shaping human destiny.